So Mike, ready? Are you ready, or would you like to be?
Good to see you today.
Mr. Earl, how are you? Good to see you.
I want to thank everybody who's come here today. We're having a great turnout for several of our candidates. We have Jeff Johnson here, who's running for governor, and Dean Erdal's here, and he's going to represent here, and Dave Blanchard. So we're going to have a few words first. Dave, you want to come up and give us a few words, and then Dean Erdal. And thank you all for coming on this lovely day. We're happy to have you here.
Thank you very much, Linda. And for those of you that don't know me, my name is David Baker. I am running for House of Representative here in 17B, which encompasses most of Candiota County. It is a real pleasure to be here today. I've had a chance to meet and discuss things with Jeff a little bit in the back, and I think that we're really excited about you doing this, Jeff. It's got to be an enormous race. This is my very first race ever. Doing this, and it's been an incredible journey, and I've told many people, win or lose, I'll never forget this journey. It feels wonderful. I feel enthused. I can't wait to get out every day. But imagining the race that you're in is pretty overwhelming for me, so I can't thank you enough for doing what you're doing. So I feel great about what we're doing and our message here in Candiota County. A small business guy is what I've done for the last 14 years. Running restaurants and running hotels is not easy to do, but I love serving people. And I hope that I can continue that, doing that in St. Paul. We've had a lot of great supporters with a lot of signs. We've got over 600 signs out in the area. We've raised enough money to be able to pay all of our bills, which is contractors and our vendors like that a lot. And we've had great support with letters to the editor. We've had tremendous volunteers. So we are just really blessed to have such a great community supporting our race. But again, we are going to be here for a little longer. If anybody has any questions for me, we're going to hit more doors. We're out knocking on doors every single day, and it feels great. I will tell you, I think Election Day is going to be a good night for Republicans. I feel really strong about that, and I feel very lucky and blessed to be a part of this. And I'm also very fortunate to have been endorsed by the local Republicans. So with that, I will move on. Is Scott going to go? Dean? Well, let's let Dean.
I was pulling my hair.
Then he's going to have some good jokes, I think, too. Anyway, Representative Dean Erdal, thanks.
They didn't catch me pulling my hair. All I know is that there won't be any commercials ever criticizing me for having too much hair or being a millionaire. But I'd like to thank all of you for coming out today. Really want to thank the folks that came out here with Jeff for their stop in Litchfield and the lid dropping they were doing there. That's a big boost. We are now within 10 days of the election, and it's a big one for the state of Minnesota. You know, I'll speak mostly from my House of Representatives perspective, but certainly the importance of electing Jeff is huge. Scott and the other members of our ticket. I, of course, served in the House of Representatives with Scott. He's my senator in my district, and he's been doing a fine job and will do a great job as an Attorney General. I sat next to Jeff Johnson on the House floor for 2 years. He taught me all kinds of things. eBay, he introduced me to eBay. Much to my chagrin over the years, but anyway, Jeff certainly would be a tremendous governor. Definitely in a position to greatly improve the state of Minnesota in the direction that we're taking. my standpoint, as a member of the House of Representatives, it's very important that we find a way to pick up the 7 seats that we need to flip the majority. And I believe we are on the very cusp of doing that. It's very possible, very doable if we are meant to cross the state with the enthusiasm that there is here today in the districts that we need. And this is one of them. This is one of them that we really need. You know, we are going to have that majority, and we will be able to stop some of what I consider to be wrongly practices and move the state forward. You know, there are ways that we can do that with a Republican Senate and a Democrat, a Democrat Senate, I got to get straight here, Democrat Senate, Republican House. You know, the houses can work together. And there are things that we are going to be able to do in good pieces of legislation that benefit the whole state that a Democrat Senate and a Republican House is going to do, and I want to be in the forefront of helping that to happen. And with a lot of luck and a lot of hard work, we're going to see that it does happen on election day. This seat is going to be one of them that brings us to that position. So, with that, I believe, Scott, you're next in line.
Dean, as Dean indicated, I am currently a senator from Hutchinson, Minnesota. My district is Meeker, Sibley, McLeod County, a little bit of Wright County. And what Dean has outlined for you, first of all, regarding the House of Representatives. As a sitting senator, I have watched bill after bill after bill go through both the House and the Senate and go to the governor's office and get signed, and literally we can't stop it. The best that we can do is try and talk people to death. And we absolutely, and I'm dead serious, we absolutely have to flip the House this year. Any support that you can give to Dave and to those members who are running for the House of Representatives, you will be well served by providing that support to them. In terms of my decision to run for the Attorney General's office, first of all, the definition for you. The Attorney General in the state of Minnesota is the lawyer that represents the state of Minnesota. It's no more difficult than that. And as I sit in the Senate and I watch what was going on in the Attorney General's office, I'm so much like you in that I really wasn't paying attention. But as a senator, I began paying attention. And I will tell you that the Attorney General's office, having been held by one party for almost a half a century, has become so politicized, so partisan, that the advice that the Attorney Generals are now giving to the state of Minnesota is very poor legal advice. It is my intention, and it is the reason why I am running, to take the partisanship out of that office. Now, let me give you one quick example. A big issue for you out here in western Minnesota, where I live in Hutchinson. The farming community has got coming at it some new water regulations from the Environmental Protection Agency. Pay attention to that, folks. That's a big issue. Because what the federal government is trying to do is redefine surface waters as being navigable. And if they are navigable, then we, living out here in rural Minnesota, are going to be required to comply with federal rules and regulations concerning surface waters for licensing, for permitting, and it is going to be an onerous change, not only for our farmers, but for developers, for manufacturing. We've got a huge poultry operation right here in Willmar, and it is going to affect that operation. Now here's the kick, and here's why the Attorney General is involved in this issue. The rules and regulations that are being promulgated by a federal agency, people you do not get to vote for, is in direct violation of the 1972 Clean Water Act that was passed by Congress. The EPA is trying to overrule an act of Congress by way of rules and regulations. Attorney generals across the nation are fighting it, they're contesting it, because it's an illegal act. But not your Attorney General. Your Attorney General has done and will do nothing to protect you when it comes to this new EPA regulations. And those EPA regulations in water, in coal, and all manner of things coming at you are the same. She is not going to protect you. And I'm telling you, I am going to do that. Even if it requires me taking the federal government to court, I will do it. Now in closing, let me tell you a little bit about my friend Jeff Johnson. I have known Jeff Johnson for a good solid decade. Jeff and I were in the house together. And I have known him while he was a Hennepin County Commissioner. And I will tell you that in Jeff Johnson, we have an absolutely decent, honest man who is solid in his values. And I cannot think of a better person to be your governor than to replace Mark Dayton. So I will ask you to give a warm welcome to the
Thank you, Scott, and to Dave and Dean for all you're doing. And this is a big thank you to you guys. You are working hard, and I know you're going to be working as hard as we are over the next 10 days, and we're really relying upon that. So a big thank you. For those who don't know me, and I know that there are some in this room, I was born and raised in Detroit Lakes, Minnesota. My wife Sandy's from Crookston. We went to school in Moorhead. So we are children of northwestern Minnesota, and I will tell you that it is difficult and painful to watch how this governor has treated Greater Minnesota as an afterthought. And you can see it in so many different areas, whether you look at K-12 funding formulas, whether you look at LGA formulas and some of the changes they made just this last year to move a lot of that money into Minneapolis rather than some of the communities that desperately need it in Greater Minnesota. Whether you look at the fact that we are spending transportation dollars on light rail trains and trolleys and streetcars instead of roads and bridges that would benefit everybody in the state. Whether you're looking at the environmental regulations that Scott was talking about, particularly the water regulations, the EPA is trying to come in and do some things that we should have a governor who's standing up and saying no. And he's not only not doing that, he seems to be almost welcoming them in to do this. And it's one thing after another where nursing homes, another great example. And Mark Dayton has spent his entire life either in Minneapolis or New York. And I think because of that, he doesn't really understand, he doesn't really appreciate the rest of the state. And it does seem like we've almost become two states under this administration. Minneapolis and everybody else, or maybe the metro and everybody else. And I think that we would be a much better state if we have a governor who has spent half his life in Greater Minnesota and half his life in the metro, can kind of bridge that gap, but also understands and appreciates what is so special about the rest of the state, so that we're not always hoping that we can get some scraps, but actually, thriving as a state, as one state. I will tell you, my race is going great. I think that these guys would say the same thing. People weren't paying a lot of attention during this election for whatever reason. Up until maybe a few weeks ago, I noticed it about 2.5 weeks ago in my race. And it was kind of after we went up on television, after we started to have some debates, people all of a sudden started to engage 2 or 3 weeks ago. And that has been so encouraging because, number one, I believe if people pay attention, we're going to win. And number two, people are starting to pay attention. And because of that, I feel very positive. Our polling, our internal numbers show that my race, I'm still behind, and I'm going to be behind until about 8 o'clock on election day, because that's how it works for Republicans in statewide races. But our plan is to continue to get all around this state for the next 10 days. We will peak not the day before election day, but on election day, and with your help, which we all appreciate so very much, we're gonna win on November 4th, and we're gonna take the state back to the great people.
We're up by 3.
All right, Gophers are up by 3, right when I said that line, so they cheered even louder. Any questions, any comments for any of us? Any advice you have for the closing argument?
Yeah, Jeff, you mentioned nursing homes. I'm not familiar with that issue. What are you talking about there?
And Dean, you know this better than I do.
Historically, there were 3 rates for reimbursement for nursing home patients for the nursing homes. You have the metro rate, the rural rate, and the deep rural rate. and they are less amounts for each. They've changed the law now. Now the law says that they'll be paid at the, basically, at the historic rate. So it's the same thing. We get 3 rates. Metro, rural, and deep rural, and we are paid, I think Canyon is, I know Meeker is, deep rural. In other words, the reimbursement rate that we get for our residents of nursing homes in greater Minnesota is less than they get in the metro area. And as far as I'm concerned, our residents, our elderly, are worth just as much in terms of state funding as they are in the metro area. And so I have been trying over the years, and when Jeff was there, he supported this, to try to get fairness in our payment system for nursing homes. I did manage to get Watkins in my district moved into Stearns County, which was a higher rate, but I could only do that one home. I think all of the homes should be. Why could I get Watkins? Because it was in literally from here to across the street from the next highest rate. And I managed to do that. But that's something that we need to have a real effort to do, is to achieve equity in how we fund our nursing homes in the state.
And you know, that's not unique when you look at what's been happening, particularly the last 4 years under the Dayton administration, where it's one thing after another that greater Minnesota is seen as kind of secondary, kind of something a little different. And as a Norwegian Lutheran from northern Minnesota, I don't get all emotional about a lot of things, but that makes me angry. It really bothers me. And I tell people that demeanor that comes from my Scandinavian grandpa, who loved my grandma so much he almost told her this one time. But that one, it's kind of personal, and it really needs to end. We need to look at this as one state rather than two different regions. Got it?
Jeff, talk a little bit about MNsure rates, and that the fact that the 4.5% that has been disclosed by Dayton really isn't an accurate reflection of the.
No, it's a lie. And that's a strong statement, but I've been saying that for a few days now. It's a lie. He's lying to Minnesotans, and we had a press conference last week saying he should apologize for lying. And he keeps doing it. And the media is even pushing back on him now, saying this is just not true. What they came out and said was that MNsure rates are going to increase an average of 4.5% next year. And everybody thought that doesn't sound right. I think it's going to be higher than that. Well, it turns out, and I won't go through all the technicalities, but it turns out the process they use for it is completely bogus. And those numbers are going to be wildly higher than that. The Minnesota Association of Health Underwriters, this is not some political group by any stretch of the imagination. They have said that the real increases are going to be between 8 and 43%. That's not 4.5 on average, and it's nothing close to it. Preferred One, who actually exited MNsure because it was such a disaster for them, said that their average increases next year, 63%, which means a whole bunch of people are going to be even worse than 63%. So what frustrates me about this is that the governor just will not be honest. He just won't be frank and level with Minnesotans who are going to get a bomb dropped on them next month when they start getting these renewal notices. And at least tell them the truth so they can start preparing for it. But of course, they're trying to hide this as best they can for another couple weeks. Luckily for us, the media on this one is actually doing their job, and they're starting to push back really hard. MNsure has been a disaster, and everyone in this room knows that, and I think the governor knows that too. The problem is he doesn't have any plan to make it any better, and we certainly do, and we'll be able to do that. Any other questions or thoughts or comments? Yes?
I have one. One important issue for us out here is transportation, linking us up to St. Cloud, getting the remaining gaps in Highway 23 going. Now, the incumbent in this district has said we need more light rail so we can be more like Europe. I'm thinking that light rail is something that's not real useful for us out here. It's being subsidized in the cities. What's your take on transportation, particularly for outstate areas like Canyon High Hall?
Sure. Actually, there are a few reasons that I think we should be more like Europe, and transportation would be a good example of that. The focus, all of the energy, all of the focus, all of the interest on transportation under the Dayton administration has been on everything but roads and bridges.
It's on light rail, it's on commuter rail, it's on so-called high-speed rail, streetcars, trolleys, bike paths, sidewalks, complete streets, which I have learned means everything but the street. And the priority has to be on what all of us rely upon, all over the state, including in the Twin Cities. And it's not. That's at the bottom of the heap right now. Roads and bridges should be at the very top. And that will be absolutely my priority. There are very few areas that I think we should spend more money on in government. I think we're spending too much in most areas. Transportation is at the top of the list of those areas where we actually should be spending more, at least on the roads and bridge part of transportation. And that doesn't come by increasing the gas tax. After the largest gas tax in state history, or I'm sorry, after the largest tax increase in state history, for us to say we don't have enough money to fill potholes is crazy. It means that we need to do a little bit better job of prioritizing, like every family and like every small business has to do in this state. And we can do that. I happen to believe we could also bond a bit more for roads and bridges. I think that makes sense. But that's where the priority is going to be for me. And, you know, light rail, I said, show me a cost-benefit analysis where this is going to really relieve congestion in comparison to the literally billions we're going to spend on it, and then I'm all ears. But I haven't seen it yet. I doubt it's coming. Anything else? All right, well, thank you again so very much for coming out for all you're doing, and it's going to be a great 10 days and a good November 4th for us all. Thank you.
Well, I figure I'm a Republican according to the newspaper.
Sure. Yeah, right. Like, and Dean said it before.
No.
Apparently not.
No, I'm really irritated about that. It's absolutely bogus journalism.
What are you going to do?
I'm door knocking, but I thought I should say hi to this guy.
I've got something for you, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, right. Sunday night, it's called Light. Something like, something that's zombies, why are these fascinating about
that's not
Really?
easy to do.
That's really hard.
Well, except the newspaper yesterday, wrote his whole interview for him. She can't speak anymore. But see, I go.
Yeah. Is the newspaper here pretty biased?
Well, then, yes and no. I don't expect to get their endorsement even though clearly I ought to. We had some
Yes.
Wow. And they told me about that as they were walking out. So I don't know how they could come up with the endorsement. But,
Well, good. I'm glad to hear that. I didn't realize you were running. So you were out door knocking a lot?
yeah, and that's what I was doing, and I thought I'd stop and say hi to you. It's been a while.
It has. It's been going really well. I'm not just saying that. It feels really good.
Well, the municipal doesn't give you much credit.
No, they never will. Never be the case. That's all right.
And what's this Michael Broadcourt?
Yeah, there's a story there, but I'll save it for another day.
Well, I remember his story.
Yeah.
Maybe almost literally.
Yeah, no, he had not been very friendly, but yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate that. No, that's all part of politics. You just never know what's going to happen. Yeah. No, I appreciate that, but great to see you. Yeah, thanks. Thanks for your help. But it's going well. It really is. You know, the party's in good shape, and they're doing what they need to do.
Well, hopefully you'll pull her out, because, you know, we need good Republicans.
Right. No, they did. They chose you because they thought it would hurt you. That's right. Kind of like your Mark Dayton or something bad like that.
I couldn't believe it. But,
it's a battle you'll never win, and just work around it. That's right. That's right. You could ignore him. It's even worse. Yeah, that's right. That's so funny. Yeah, I was actually surprised because my Star Tribune profile, I spent all this time, we thought it was going to be positive. We thought it would be marginally fair. I can't tell you how many non-political people. So I saw that good article. Star Tribune, and I think it's because they don't really read it very close. Yeah. Right. Right. Yep. And, you know, they see the picture, they read what, you know, it's something that interests them. It's, oh, he teaches Sunday school. Oh, that's kind of cool.
I'm running around door knocking right now. So. Hi, Scott. How are you? I'm just fine. I'm Raleigh Nissen. I don't know if you
Yes.
I used to be chair here.
I recognize the face, now I got the name.
Yeah.
I know.
You were chair for a long time.
Yeah, 10 years.
Yeah.
Just read the Willmar Tribune.
That's right. They may repeat it
I'm
again
running for
before I
county
was...
commissioners, and I was raised, but they had to identify me as well, I'm enjoying it. And you know what?
Yeah.
Almost every day I talk to says that he's got it.
Really? They know him best.
Yeah, they do.
That's good.
My county club. But see, for a while, they kept here. School board, now we're something really and while we can't endorse what we've done, we take people in and we're vetting. And we're making recommendations, it's bringing their vetting to our board.
Well, we do.
And we're
That's going to happen this year?
I think so. We got Shemansky.
For county board? Oh, I guess
You think I should be in this? I'm trying to be nonpartisan here.
Yeah, we won't share it.
This picture is going to help you.
We'll keep this one to ourselves.
You can send it to me on November 5th.
That's right. Once you're elected. Yeah, that's good.
Best
All
of
right, well,
luck.
nice seeing you.
Yeah, thanks, Riley. Thanks for stopping
And
by.
that is an important deal you're running for.
Well, I hope.
You take care. Yes.
What's he doing? Where is he? Okay. Hearing those stories, I hear them all the time. Yeah. Right? The governor doesn't make a bad.
These two guys' jobs are tripping.
That's right. It works. Why not? What about me? What's he gonna? Oh, sure. Oh, thanks.
Would love it too. Thank you.
You are the only one who has a picture with the candidate from the DFL tracker.
Okay.
That's something to be proud of.
Oh, all right.
It's a collector's item.
I saw you at the June event. Thank you for coming out. Yeah, I think that was a real
I do too. Oh, that's right. That's right. I wasn't making that connection.
Yeah, well, I didn't.
That was so cool. Yeah. You know what? I tried to do a bunch of that with folks that normally don't. I got flipping half a little bit to get a where and then they talk, maybe a couple of months, get an extra 0.5%. Yeah, Tanya.
Yeah, everybody was on the bus.
Yeah.
So it worked out real well.
Oh, good. Well, that's nice to hear. Thank you for reminding me of that connection.
Well, you know, more interested.
He doesn't like this.
Yeah, right. Just another politician. That's what you do. Good. That's great. That's good.
So I
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. Got this idea 5 years ago. And I went to some of them. I've always been supportive of them. A lot of people put a hell of a lot of work into insurance. Well, I gotta go try to find payments and stuff. Yeah. You didn't know you were supposed to go away?
You left you? Oh, you're following.
You get kind of like the stuff, right? Good luck to you. Yeah, thanks for your help. Sit down. It'll be great. All right. Anybody know where Dave is? We can still talk, yeah. This movie is interesting.
Hey, what, sometimes you sit out here in Minnesota and you feel like you're here. I have, there's 3 of me that comes up here and thinks it's it's nice to hear.
Huh?
And I will tell you, particularly in greater Minnesota, there just seems to be people are just looking for something different to make a change.
I called Dave last week because when Bruce was running, I'd asked him how things, I know there's no polling or anything. I actually got pulled about 7 race. You did? Which is really unheard of for a state really.
Both caucuses usually poll, so the Republican caucus and the Democratic caucus poll, so that they know internally where they want to send their money and their help. So it could have been that, but it could be something bigger.
And it could have been that, but I know Bruce was running because I helped him a lot. No, and he said it's more what you're feeling, like what you're saying, and you're not needing, like he said, it was 2-3 days before the election, and he just kind of had that, I've done everything I can, and I think it's okay. So I was very surprised when there was actually
It's probably a good sign.
yeah, that's what I thought, especially for
Well, I got the feeling that he was very
Really? Okay. And that's a really good sign. Yeah.
I think he must be a little nervous to the west.
That's Tim Miller, right?
Right. Because
Tim Miller.
yeah, right. But what you're talking about, there's a lot more money in this last week. The ads are starting to come out. And Klobuchar's had them for the 2 representatives. And there was somebody else. Really? For the 2. So you know the races. Right? They're anticipating to get.
Anything you do, it means they're worried. Yeah.
You know, before you think it's local.
Right.
A long time ago when I used to listen to KQRS,
Yeah.
Tom Bernard, he said, plus the Amy Klobuchar. And that's all I can ever think of now whenever I see her name. Plus the Amy Klobuchar.
That's all I know.
Well, oh, really?
That's Tom Bernard. Yes. If you listen to him, you know what's going on.
That's right. Well,
Let's head to the Jeff was very nice to meet you. Nice to see you. Take care. Absolutely.
A friend of mine works for years.
really? And you never met him?
It's just been my lover view of the internet.
Don't go there.
Oh, that's right on TV now, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Don't say anything.
So you guys are going on Monday?
Yeah, we're gonna go. I'm not too sure how far it is. Yeah, we're gonna drive over there. Say hi.
Good. Yeah, and that's the end of the road for us. East. Well, east. North for me, Maple Grove. Because I haven't been there. So, one of our very last. You know, I've been doing 3 or 4 a day for the last couple of weeks. And we have one today, we got 1 or 2 on Monday and 1 on Tuesday. It's still full for Monday. A lot less than that now. And a lot easier. Yeah. Well, I'm just getting tired of voicemails for everybody. I mean, it gets better. You get more call back than you used to. And actually, it's been going quite well. We're at a point now. Purchase what you can purchase.
Stay in touch.
Especially the negative ads, I think, just at this point. On both sides. Yeah. Good, thank you. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I know. No, we're trying.
That's right. That's all here. All right. Thanks. Where to go next? We could ask the tractor Thank you for coming. Yeah, this is good. It's been a fun day.